Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Visix the Unbowed, a free login legendary that you get simply for playing this game for 270 days. There was once a time where she was little more than a bit of a meme or at best a Vault Guardian, but since she got reworked a couple of years ago, I would argue that of all of the free champions that we get given in this game, she is up there with the best. So we're going to go over her kit, we're going to talk about what it actually is that she does and where you can use her, and maybe a little bit of insight into how I would actually go about building this champion. Let's do it. Guys, before we move ahead, just letting you know I've got a new player promo link and it is waiting for you in the pinned comment and description of this video. It's going to get you off to a solid head start in Raid with a free legendary and 3 free epics as you level up your account. Here's what you need to do. You'll want to log out of Plarium and Play on your PC and uninstall the game. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email address. Launch Raid, complete your tutorial, go to your inbox and claim your first free champion. Nice and easy guys, now back to the video. So you have played Raid for 270 days and you are greeted with this little delight here that you log in and you have a free Void legendary. Now, to anyone that's just getting started and thinking, wow, 270 days, that's a long time. Well, yes, it is. But if there's one thing this game is incredibly good at, it is making the illusion of time feel a little bit warped. And trust me, it will go by before you've even realized it's happened. So let's talk about her kit. We'll start with the A1. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has an 80% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. And fills this champion's turn meter equal to the amount the target loses. This is just a very convoluted way of saying she steals 30% of the enemy's turn meter and takes it for herself. On to the A2. Attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. It also places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except for this champion for 2 turns. Finally, the A3 attacks all enemies, places a provoke for 1 turn, and then places a shield on herself equal to 20% of her own HP for 2 turns. Lastly, she does actually have an aura, and that is 37% defense in faction crypts. Now, on paper, this champion seems like pretty much out of this world. She is incredibly OP, but there is just one little downside that we need to consider. When we look at her A2 and we realize that she puts out ally protection, what that basically means is every bit of damage that anyone on your team takes, she eats up 50% of it. So she is amazing on paper, but you've also got to factor in keeping her alive, and sometimes it's not quite as easy as you might think. She's got pretty decent base stats, but trust me, once that damage starts hitting your team, you might look at her and think, wow, for a defense-based champion, you are incredibly squishy. So how are we going to build this champion? Well, there's a few little conditions that we must consider. Firstly, she is going to need accuracy. Every part of her kit rests on doing some form of manipulation on the enemy, and in order to do that, you are going to need accuracy. That does not mean stick 600 accuracy on her and sacrifice all the other stats. That just means work out what you're trying to do with her, what stage of Hydra or Fire Knight or whatever. Work out what accuracy you need. Make sure you hit that first, then you can focus on the other stats that make her incredibly powerful. The second little condition is actually in her A3 with the shield that she puts on herself. It's equal to her own max HP, 20% of it. So the more HP she's got, the bigger the shield that she's going to put on herself. So let's jump over to the build. Here's my thought process. I need my accuracy. I need speed because ultimately she's a debuffer. She's defense based, so we're going to want a little bit of that as well. And I'm also going to need some HP so that her own self shield becomes that little bit stronger. Now, I'm not going to try and squeeze damage out of this champion because that's not what she's for. If you want a damage dealer, bring a damage dealer. Her multipliers are okay, but they stop at okay. You can't really try and squeeze damage out of something that's not meant to do it. All you'll do in the process is sacrifice the stats that actually make her good. Another thing I want to consider, this is an incredibly good champion for Hydra. And in Hydra, you are going to get debuffed. And the one I'm really worried about here is going to be poisons. If she's already taking 50% of everyone else's damage, the last thing she's going to want is to get absolutely covered in poisons and die as she takes her turn. So we are going to need to consider some resistance in this build too. So it's not a damage build, it's just a massively tanky, utility, survival-based champion. So on a champion like this, I'm actually going to start with the boots. It's going to be the biggest injection of speed that we can get into her. So first steps is I like to select boots up here. I like to scroll down to primary stats and I'm going to select speed. And then in the substats, I would really like to see some accuracy, maybe some defense percentage and some HP percentage. Let's go with that and hide our set filters. I've got 5 options. I'm not going to worry about Slayer because I'll probably need that for something else. Immortal would be quite a solid choice on her. Not sure if Zeal would be the right thing, but Defiant would also be incredibly strong. So just a quick look at what we're working with. I think I'm going to opt for these. Anything to help her take that little bit less damage. And again, this is not super like you have to use this set or that set. It's just all about stats, and quite frankly, this pair of boots are going to serve me well. In total, they've got 43 speed, and there's room for me to take that up to 49. It's got defense percent, it's got HP percent, accuracy, and a bit more flat defense. I think that's going to be absolutely perfect, so we will start there. Next thing is I'm just going to get rid of my gear filters so I can see what I'm doing. What I'm going to look at now is, can I make up a Defiant set on her? It's only a 2-piece, but whilst we've got one bit of gear in, it's always worth looking to see if we can actually make it up. So I'm going to start by looking at the weapons. We'll see what we've got. Once again, I really would like to see some accuracy, HP, speed, resistance. We're not going to find defense on a weapon because you cannot get defense as a substat on a weapon. The only way to do it would be through Ascension, where you'd get a little bit of a bonus. But I'm just going to see if we can find something that matches what we're actually looking for. I think I'm going to settle on this. We get accuracy, resistance, speed, and a little bit more HP. It's only flat, but that's absolutely fine. The more the merrier. Let's just go with that. Now we've got a Defiant set on her, so ultimately she's gained 10% defense and she's actually taking reduced damage from AoE attacks. Because I want to use her in Hydra, this is kind of perfect for her. So we will take one quick little look at what her stats are saying so far. 38k HP, pretty good, but that is going to need to go up quite a bit. 3.3k defense is good, but again, the more the merrier. She's currently got 170 speed, 189 resistance and 157 accuracy, so there's still a lot of improvement that needs to be made on this champion. How about we go down to the chest and see if we can sort out the accuracy issue. It's going to be the biggest injection of accuracy we can get into her without using a banner, so let's see if we can really bump up the stats based on what we need. I'm going to select accuracy from the menu here, and then let's go with a bit of resistance and a little bit of defense percentage. And we'll remove the set bonuses and just see what we've got. I'm liking the look of this. It's from Killstroke, which really isn't going to bring me much benefit, but the stats all look absolutely great. Maybe one day I will rework this Ascension here and maybe get 20% defense on her. You just never know, but as it stands, I'm quite happy with those stats. It's everything that I actually want on this champion. So we will continue, and once again, I just like to look at where the build is so far. She's still very low on HP, so let's get some gloves on her and let's see if we can actually bump that number up quite a substantial amount. Back to primary stats, and here I'm going to click HP percent, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click gloves. These are all of my HP gloves, so let's filter that down a little bit more. I'm going to want a bit of speed, that'll definitely be good. Let's see if we can get some accuracy, that'll be even better, and maybe a bit of defense percentage, you just never know. Cool, right, 5 options. I think I'm going to settle on these. Once again, it's just all the stats I actually want on this champion. Don't care about the sets at this point. I just want to make sure that she's got all of the right things going for her, and if possible, to avoid using gear that's got stats that aren't really going to benefit her. We don't need crit damage, we don't need attack, so pretty much everything else is going to help us. I'm pretty happy with that pair of gloves. The Ascension could be worked up later, she get a little bit more crit rate, but again, not really her job. Let's settle on that, and all that leads us with now is actually a helm and a shield. Currently, from looking at everything that I've got, I'm actually wondering if a little bit more accuracy is going to be a big bonus for her, because it's also going to come with speed if I choose to use perception. So I've got a little bit of a spread of what we can use. I'm going to quickly go through and just work out once again what are the bits of gear that have got the most amount of stats on them that are actually going to help her. So I'm just going to whittle through all of this, and then I will make my decision. Okay, here we go. I've settled on this for the helm. We've got speed, defense, accuracy, and more defense. Perfect. And then on the shield, it's speed, defense, resistance, and HP. Once again, we've just ticked all the boxes. This is everything that she needs. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one more look at her total stats. The HP has climbed up a lot higher. That's very nice. We're now at 4.2k defense, much better. 240 speed, still a fraction low in my opinion, but again, it depends what you're trying to use her for. If you want to take her into maybe Nightmare Hydra, you're going to probably want that to be closer to about 300, but obviously you've got to consider the other stats in the process. She's got 260 resistance, that needs to come up for sure, but 320 accuracy so far. I'm pretty happy with that. That's definitely going to get me through maybe Brutal Hydra. So let's just take a look at those accessories. I'm going to start with the banner because that's the last chance we've got of actually getting speed into this build. I'm also going to see if I can double whammy this and bump up the resistance at the same time. Luckily, this only leaves me with 3 options. So I'm actually just going to go for the one that's got the most speed on it. I'm settling for this one. It makes the most sense. It's the fastest and it's got some pretty decent stats on it. The Ascension, well, that's just how it goes. Maybe one day we could redo it and maybe get something like, I don't know, accuracy, resistance, or maybe even some defense. But as it stands, I'm happy with that. That is the one that we are going to equip. As a little bonus, and this is why accessories from variable sets are so powerful, not only did we get all of those stats there, but just for using a one piece, we actually get an extra 20 resistance. Really nice, just makes your builds that little bit easier because you're just getting more bang for your buck. Now, onto the amulets, and this is something that really makes me crazy sometimes because I do a lot of account takeovers, and you would be amazed at how many accounts I look at where the only amulets they actually keep are crit damage. They delete all of the HP, all of the attack, and all of the defense. Bad idea. This champion is rarely going to crit, especially with her current 22% crit rating. She's not about the damage. Most champions are not about the damage. They're about the support. So we want to make sure that when it comes to primary stats, we are selecting HP and we are selecting defense. That definitely whittles down what we can use. I am seeing a big spread of different variable sets here, and they're all going to come with their own little bonuses. We've got this feral one here, which will bring 40 accuracy by default, but we've already got protection on her, so let's have a look at some pinpoint. Let's see if anything good is in there. I actually really like the look of this. The attack is a bit of a shame, but that is just how gear rolls sometimes. There's still plenty of room to add glyphs, but this is everything the champion needs. Plus, we're going to get an extra 20 accuracy just by equipping it. We're going to make it easy. This doesn't need to be difficult. There's the amulet, and all that leaves is the ring. So one last time, I like to have a look at the stats and think, we're either going to use an HP or a defense-based ring. Which one do we need more? I would probably argue we need more HP now than we do defense. So I'm going to set this to just HP, and I'm going to come up here and just select the rings. This is everything we've got to choose from. I could go for a double pinpoint and get that little extra 10% speed. That's probably a very good idea. Just seeing if I've got anything rolled. I don't. Luckily, it is artifact enhancement, so I will gladly take these up. I'm actually going to go for this ring here because whatever I get, it's going to be a stat that I actually want. So up to 4, let's see where it's going. We get defense, perfect. Up to 8. More defense, even better. Now I'll take this to 12. I already know what's going to happen. I'm either going to get flat attack or attack percentage or flat HP. That's kind of only really how it can go. We get flat attack, never mind. Maybe one day I will actually roll this up, but today is not that day. But as you will see here, she's going to get a little bit more speed as well as all of those stats. Here is the final build. 60k HP, very nice. 263 speed, I like it. Could do with maybe being pushed a little further. It'll do. Nearly 5k attack, absolutely wicked. We're forgetting about crit rate and damage. We've got 384 resistance, that's going to do us very well in Hydra, and she's got 350 accuracy so that she can just do what she's meant to do. As far as sets go, we managed to get perception on her, a bit of defiant, a 2-piece pinpoint, and a 1-piece protection. Lastly, before I go, I will just touch on the relic. Now, this is not the best relic to put on her. It just had good stats, and I think it's going to help me mitigate some of that damage that she's going to be eating up because of the ally protection. I went with this Black Shroud fan. It's just HP, it's defense, and ultimately with the level I've got, it's 4% damage reduction that otherwise she wouldn't have had. As far as the gemstone goes, it means that destroy HP is going to be 20% less effective on her. Again, I like to use her in Hydra, and you get destroyed max HP when you heal in Hydra when certain heads are up. So this is all just playing into the synergy of keeping her alive and hopefully her just taking as little damage as possible. Finally, I will do the masteries just to show you what I've got going on. And as you will see here, I opted to go for offense and support. Now, there would be nothing wrong with going defense and support, but because this is going to be for Hydra, I figured every little bit of damage is going to help. And even though she's not built for damage, coming down to War Master is going to mean that every now and then she's going to hit and we're going to get a nice little chunk of damage. It's not going to hurt the overall performance, but it is going to make a little bit of a difference to my total score. The real magic is actually happening on the support side. She's just got accuracy. She's got healing whenever an enemy's killed. That's not really going to work in Hydra, but it's a little bonus if you're using her elsewhere. One of my favorite masteries for Visix is rapid response, because it just means that whenever her buffs that she puts out, the ally protection starts to fall off, you can get a little bit of bonus turn meter back. We go Law of Steel because stats, Shadow Legends, and then finally I went down to Master Hexer to hopefully just increase the duration of the decreased speed that she puts on the enemy team. So that's it, guys. If you build your Visix using this kind of mindset, you're going to end up with a very, very solid build, and she is going to be brilliant pretty much wherever you choose to take her. Not only is she a Hydra beast, but she's actually very good in Fire Knight normal. She was in my team pretty much the whole way through. She's absolutely awesome. Follow along to this guide and build your champ like this, and I think you're going to actually really enjoy using her. That's all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments, are you still actually using this champion? Because I still use her quite a lot to this day. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.